Okay, so if I set this up, again, the ordered pair is the point 2.8, 5.3, which means I am here in the first quadrant. The point is somewhere up there. If I make my right triangle, I know I went right 2.8, and I went up 5.3, and I'm looking for this angle. I'm going to call it alpha. So I'm going to use a trig ratio based off the sides that I know. 5.3 is the opposite side. 2.8 is the adjacent side. So which trig function deals with opposite and adjacent? That would be tangent. So we set this up to be tangent of the angle, that's what I'm looking for, alpha, equals the opposite side over the adjacent side. And again, we know both of these are positive values because we went right and up, and we're in the first quadrant here. Now we're looking for alpha. So alpha is not by itself because we're taking a tangent of alpha. So I can undo a tangent by taking an inverse tangent on both sides. So the inverse tangent of tangent, those cancel each other out. And now then I would have the inverse tangent. Let's see, I gotta get this in my calculator. Have the inverse tangent of 5.3 divided by 2.8. And again, make sure, because this answer needs to be in degrees, make sure your calculator is in degree mode. And when I do that, I get a value of 62.15. And it tells me to round to the nearest tenth, which means the 5 tells the 1 to round up. And alpha would be 62.2 degrees. So without seeing how you have to enter your answers, we don't normally work with degrees and minutes for trig. So I'm going to rewrite this as a decimal. So if I put in 22 degrees, let's see, second angle, and 26 minutes. Math frack. Oh man, that's an ugly decimal. Oh well, I'll just write it as a fraction. This is an ugly problem, just the truth. So it tells me that angle A here, I turned it into a fraction, which I don't normally like to do that either, but the decimal's a repeating decimal, so I really don't have any other options. So angle alpha is 673 over 30, and so now I can find the other angle B, because I know angle A, B, and C I'll have to add up to be 180. So you could do 180 minus 90 for angle C, minus 673 over 30 for B. And when I do that, I get 27 over 30. That's just pitiful. That's about 67.6 if you can round to the nearest tenth. Again, I don't know what your answer choices look like. So let's see. I'm going to put here, this is about 67.6. This one is about 22.4. Terrible. Okay. Now we also know that side length A is 9.07. So now we need to find side lengths B and C. So I would find B here. This is the angle that was given to me. So that's the one I'm going to use. It doesn't really matter which angle you use, but just in case we calculated angle B incorrectly, I'm going to use angle A as like a safety net. So from angle A, I know the opposite side. I'm looking for the adjacent side. So the trig function that deals with opposite and adjacent is tangent. So we could say tangent of the angle, which again, I'm just going to put 22.4. Tangent of the angle is equal to the opposite side, which is 9.07, over the adjacent side, which is what I'm looking for, B. So for me, I have a fraction equal to tangent, so I'm going to make that a fraction equal to a fraction by putting this over 1, and I'm going to cross multiply. So that tells me B times the tangent of 22.4 is equal to 9.07. And so now I can solve for B. Sorry. Oh, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Sorry, they've updated my... There we go, that's fine. I can solve for B. It's being multiplied by tangent by dividing by tangent. 22.4 on both sides. So these cancel out. And again, that's just in my calculator. Make sure your calculator is in degrees. So I've got 9.07 divided by the tangent of 22.4. When I do that, I found B to be 22.00, which I'm going to assume we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So the B value is 22. So now I know A is 9.07, B is 22. You've got options. You could do trig again to find C. So I could go back to this angle, and I could say they gave me the opposite. I'm looking for the hypotenuse. So which trig function deals with opposite and hypotenuse? That would be sine. So we could say sine of the angle is the opposite over hypotenuse. Again, that's an option. You also, if you feel good about you did the second part correctly, finding B, we could use the Pythagorean theorem to find a third side of a right triangle. So you could say A squared plus B squared equals C squared. That's probably the way I would do it, just because I think it's the least amount of steps. I'm kind of lazy sometimes. So if I do that, I plugged all this in my calculator here. And then once I got 566.2649. So then to find C, I need to take a square root of that number. So the square root was 23.79, which I'm going to round to 23.8. And like I said, this may not work because I haven't seen the instructions. So I don't know if you can round to one decimal place or if they want your answer in minutes and seconds for the angles. But this is the general idea for how to solve this problem.